I'm sure some of you who may be listening to this right now, you may be going through a difficult time in your life. And if you are, just know that it's temporary. I know what it is to go through difficult moments in life. I've dealt with being bullied a lot. I've dealt with disappointment. I've dealt with tragedy. And it feels like I've had a lot of bad times in my life rather than good times. But the thing is that no matter what your situation is, you will get through it. You just have to keep your head up and keep pushing forward. There was someone like myself who had to deal with not just those things that I just mentioned, but had to deal with depression, anxiety, and also post-traumatic stress disorder. Certainly it's not fun to have any of those things, but fortunately, I went to therapy, which helped me greatly. Now, let's break down those things that I had to deal with. Now, with bullies, I had to deal with that for 10 years of my life, from when I was 5 until I was 15. Now, of course, back then I did not know how to deal with my bullies and deal with them the right way. But now I know. Now, as much as it was a painful experience, but I've learned to embrace it. Because I learned from it. I've grown thicker skin from it. And now if I'm ever dealing with some punk who has got a problem and wants to make my day a living hell, I could easily deal with them the right way. And that's simply just sitting down and asking them what's going on. Try to talk it out. And try to get to the root of why they're treating me or treating others the way they are. You know? And even with something like dealing with disappointment, failure and mistakes are a part of life. But when you learn from them, it gives you the stepping stone to succeed. Every failure that you encounter, let it be a lesson to learn. Pain is also something you can learn from. Whether it is just disappointment or you lost someone special. And that leads me to the tragedy part. That when you lose a loved one, whether it be family or friend, it can definitely be heartbreaking in so many different ways. And I could describe to you all that it feels like, but for those who have gone through it, you probably know exactly what I would be talking about. That it feels like there's this weight on your shoulders. You know, it feels like you're just carrying this massive boulder on your back. And it's just weighing you down. And it's not just the weight that is slowing you down and preventing you from really moving on with your life, but you know it's there, reminding you every day, you know. But I've gone through multiple tragedies. I've lost friends and family. And ever since the first one, which was the death of my father, I've learned to go through the motions of mourning the loss of that loved one. I've become stronger and stronger that I'm able to move on much quicker. And to move on doesn't mean to forget, but not to let it hold you back from living your life. You know? Now, of course, the other things, like how to deal with depression. Depression is a tough opponent to deal with, especially if any of you who are listening are dealing with depression. I mean, I had to deal with that for a very long time. I had to deal with it ever since I was in high school and into my adult life. But after going through therapy, I was able to figure out the best way to combat depression. And consider it like this. Depression is like an evil version of yourself that is constantly berating you, belittling you, and trying to convince you that you're not good enough, that no one loves you, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, if you want to combat depression, you have to call out its lies. And that's the thing. Depression is a liar. It is lying to you every time. Depression tries to just bring you down. It's like a bully's living inside your own body and mind. But what you have to do is you have to call it out. Call out its lies. And bring yourself back to reality, showing that what depression is saying is wrong. It's almost like the mainstream media is constantly lying to you in some way, trying to twist the information to try and convince you of something that's really false, or not even fully true for that matter. So calling out depression and its lies will give you that strength and that courage to beat it. So I'll give you an example. When I was suffering with depression, it tried to convince me that my friends don't love me at all, that they hardly ever contact me because they don't want to deal with me anymore. And also, depression wanted to convince me that my family doesn't care about me because I'm not as successful as some of them are. As I'm just more of a black sheep in the family, that kind of thing. But then I called out depression and said, listen, whether you are right or not, that doesn't make me any less of a human being. And furthermore, as you can see around my birthday, there are people who do contact me. There are friends of mine who do reach out to me to wish me a happy birthday and a good day, and even during the holidays. And I even tell depression that the reason why a handful of my friends don't reach out to me is because they are busy with their own lives. After all, many of them are married or about to get married, and they have their own issues to deal with. And even with my mother and my family, they still love me for who I am. Even though I'm not as successful as like my cousins are, still, I'm the only one in the family who is an actual legitimate author, who has published 4 books already. Even though they're not big sales, but still, it's an accomplishment. And even doing little video game projects, that too is an accomplishment. I even just list all the accomplishments that I have, and that's enough to shut depression up and say that I am worth it, that I am good enough. And I'm going to continue to improve myself. And I know I can improve myself. And that's what shuts depression up. And even with anxiety, that one's a little bit harder to deal with. But the way to beat anxiety is just like how you deal with a phobia. You have to approach what makes you uncomfortable and expose yourself to it more often. And once you start becoming more comfortable with it, it's not as scary, you know? So it's all about trying to get yourself used to a situation, you know, through exposure. And even with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the other thing I mentioned, with that you have to go to therapy, and you have to go to a therapist that is licensed in practicing EMDR, which is eye movement desensitizing reprocessing. I kid you not, it works. It's a very useful treatment that therapists can use to help you combat your post-traumatic stress disorder. It works very well. So if any of you are going through a difficult moment in your life, I hope this recording here gives you a more positive attitude. It lifts you up. It makes you feel like you take on life head on and feel much better about yourself. And just remember, you are loved, you are appreciated, and remember that you matter, okay? So go out there and live your best life and be all you can be. You got this. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. And also, if you want to, you could subscribe to my channel for more inspirational and motivational content. Hope all of you have a great day. Be good to others. Love often. Keep being your awesome self. And always stay true. Take care.